Okay. All right. I think we're live. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Thursday night. I think we're live. No, this is not an NFL stream. If anyone is listening and thinks this may be an NFL stream, I'm sorry. It's not like that. The Bills are about to hang 70 on the Dolphins. I do not feel like getting into that game right now. Maybe it gets interesting. I'll keep an eye on it. Somebody let me know if it gets interesting, but my guess is it won't be. But for today, we are venturing into the world of college football. We have not done that a whole lot on this channel. I know I've been making weekly predictions and I've started getting my rankings out, but today, it's the first time I'm doing a live stream covering college football. I'm doing it solo. It's going to be real interesting. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to give you my top 25 rankings because I really hate the AP poll. I think that they do a terrible job week in and week out every year. Every year everyone's complaining about it and it never really gets better. So I'm just going to do it myself this year. That's how it is. It's going to be based on merit, talent. You got to earn your ranking. I'm not going to rank you in my top 15 or 10 just because your name is Alabama or Texas, because yes, that's what the AP poll does. They look at your brand, and that gives you a boost based on your past history. We don't do that here, because that's pathetic. That's ridiculous, and you should not be a voter if you put a team high up in your rankings because of their name. That's ridiculous. So, no, we're not doing that here. We're different here with our rankings, and I'll get to them momentarily. I've got all 25 ready. So, gonna be fun breaking those down. I'll give you my reasoning. I'll tell you why each team earned their place, where exactly they are. And then after that, I'm gonna break down the 10 best and most interesting games on the weekend slate. Alright, we're going into, week 3 or it's week 4 of college football. Exciting times, seriously, exciting times. And we've got a lot of good games coming up. This weekend is a lot more exciting to me than last weekend, and my team's not even playing this week. So, looking forward to the show tonight. Gonna break down my rankings soon. Go through 10 games I'm looking forward to. It's going to be a blast. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's start with my top 25. I'm going to reveal them 5 at a time. If you don't have the patience for that, I already do have them uploaded as a YouTube short on the channel. So if you don't want to wait, you can go look. But I'm going to go ahead with the bottom 5 of my rankings, get those revealed. I have Michigan coming in at 25, Texas at 24, Alabama at 23, South Florida at 22, and Southern Cal at 21. So here's the deal with some of these teams. I'm going to pull up the AP poll so that I can cite these facts live, make sure that they're correct. The AP poll put Alabama at 23. I would love to know why they didn't put Alabama at 23. I did. They put Alabama at 14. They put Alabama at 14 in the rankings. I don't know why. I don't know what they have done to deserve that. Yes, they are Alabama, so they are an established contender. They're used to success. This season, they're 2-1. They opened the year with a pretty gross loss to what I believe is a very good Florida State team. You will see them pretty high in my rankings, spoiler alert. They lost to a very good Florida State team who dominated that game, and they've looked good since then. They've looked really good. They passed the eye test, and they do have a lot of talent, and that is why they even make it into my rankings. They look really good. They passed the eye test, and they did pick up a Power 5 win against Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin is not that good. They're probably, at best, mediocre, probably a little below mediocre right now, but they did get a nice win, so I do have Alabama in my rankings. I don't know why anyone has them in the top 15, though. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Texas at 24, I'm doing a little bit of self-correcting here because in my initial rankings last week, because I started in week 3, it was after week 2, going into week 3, I had Texas pretty high up, believing that Arch Manning was going to get it together and he was going to be really good, and he looked terrible again last week. It's not even just that he's good and not great, he actually looks like a bad quarterback, and Texas doesn't look good. They look solid on defense, but the resume is nothing. The best thing they can point to is a loss to Ohio State. I'm not going to put them high in the rankings just for that. So I am putting Texas below Alabama because I think Alabama has a better resume right now. You don't have to like it, but that's how it is right now. And until Texas actually wins some games against quality competition and actually looks good doing it, they're going to stay low in my rankings. Michigan at 25, I think really highly of Michigan. I think they have a really good team there. I really like Bryce Underwood. I know he's a freshman this year. He's going to have his ups and downs, but overall I think this is a better team than they were last year, which means they should win 9 or 10 games this year. Really like them. To be fair, they have not earned quality wins yet. They have a close loss to Oklahoma, but I'm really high in Oklahoma. We'll get to them later. I really like Oklahoma. So I have Michigan sneaking into my top 25 here. There are other teams I considered over them, like Nebraska. They're undefeated. I just don't think they have a quality win for me to put them above Michigan, and they could earn their way into my rankings this week. We'll see. There's some other teams that are just right on the outside looking in. But moving on, I do have South Florida ranked at 22nd, and that's a gripe I have with the AP poll. Why isn't South Florida ranked? Why not? They have a dominant win over Boise State, and I will be the first to tell you, Boise State should have never been ranked. That was ridiculous. That's on the AP poll. They shouldn't have ranked them. They shouldn't have ranked Boise State, but that is still a good win. All right, I would dare say that Boise State is a better win than Wisconsin. Boise State right now, I would pick them to beat Wisconsin straight up. You don't have to like that, but that's my take. That's how I view this. So South Florida's second best win is better than Alabama's best win. You see where I'm going with this? That's how I view it. And South Florida's best win is over Florida, and you can laugh at Florida all you want. As a Georgia fan, I've done plenty of laughing at Florida, but that's still a better win than a lot of teams have. So for that, I'm keeping South Florida ranked. They have 2 good wins in my eyes. Their resume is better than a lot of the teams in these rankings. The problem is they got absolutely demolished at the hands of Miami. So I can't have them ranked too high after a loss that bad. But I am going to keep them ranked because I think those wins warrant it. I think that they have a better body of work than a lot of these teams. So I seriously ask the AP poll, why is Alabama ranked 14? South Florida's not ranked at all. Because if you compare those two teams, I would say they both should be ranked. But South Florida clearly has the better resume. You can tell me Alabama has the better talent. They got the better brand name recognition. I would tell you I'd pick Alabama straight up in a game. South Florida has earned the higher ranking. It's a fact. That's how it is. If you swap their logos, who would you put higher? Who would put you higher? It would be South Florida's resume, and it's the ugly truth in college football right now, but it is the truth. Now, USC at 21, I'm a little higher on them than the AP poll is, which is a little surprising because that's another team with the big brand name that you would expect the AP poll to just vault into the top 15 for no reason at all, but they've been cautious this year with USC. I happen to really like USC. I really like the roster there. I think that they're in for a really good year. They don't really have the quality wins to back that statement up yet. Their best win is over Purdue, I guess. And I was unimpressed with them against Purdue. They actually dropped in my rankings this week. They were up a little bit higher last week, so I dropped them with a bad performance against Purdue in my eyes, but I still think that this is one of the better teams in the country, at least in terms of talent and potential. I want to see more before I move them up, though, so they're going to stay low into my rankings. They're above these one-loss teams, though, because they don't have a loss. And I'm going to reward you for winning, at least, generally speaking. And they've passed the eye test. You know, you could argue for Nebraska here. I know we have a Nebraska fan who will show up tonight at some point, perhaps, or watch later. The reason I have USC here but not Nebraska is I think USC has looked more impressive and they have more talent. So that's my reasoning there. Nebraska is just a few spots behind them. But this is top 25, not top 26 or 27. So that's 21 through 25. I'm going to reveal my next 5 here. Yeah, so it gets more interesting here. These are teams that actually have quality wins. South Florida has quality wins, but they also have an ugly loss. We're going to start with Utah. Well, initially it looked like they had a good power win over UCLA, but it turns out everyone is going to get a win over UCLA. They genuinely might go 0-12. It's really sad. Texas Tech is kind of in the same boat as Utah. They don't have a clear-cut great win. Oregon State coming into the season I would have thought would be a really good win, but it turns out also everyone is beating Oregon State so far. Not really sure what's wrong with them. Texas Tech and Utah, very similar to me. I think they're both extremely talented. I think they both look extremely good so far, both passing the eye test with flying colors. And I think these two are the clear favorites in the Big 12 in terms of talent and roster. Another Big 12 team here, though, Iowa State. I have Iowa State above those two, even though I would pick Texas Tech and Utah to beat Iowa State in a game. I would. But Iowa State, they've got a better resume. They got a win over Iowa, and I think Iowa's a very solid Big Ten team. I think that is a good win for them. I've otherwise not been impressed with Iowa State. The close win over Kansas State doesn't look so good in retrospect. And then they played close this past weekend with Arkansas State. Wasn't happy with that. But they keep winning games. They're 4-0, and I like the win over Iowa, so that's why they're above Texas Tech and Utah. I expect the winner of Texas Tech and Utah this week, though, to vault up a little bit. We'll talk more about them later. Vanderbilt at 17. Vanderbilt at 17. The AP poll has them at 20. I'm a little higher in Vanderbilt because I value the win over South Carolina, and I didn't think South Carolina was appropriately ranked anyway. The AP poll should have never had them as high as they did. That was ridiculous. Vanderbilt, though, has looked really good. They are passing the eye test so far. Yes, that is a true statement in 2025. Vanderbilt looks good. And they got a good win over South Carolina, so I'm going to honor that. I don't think they're as talented as the teams above them, though. And I don't expect a ton of wins for Vanderbilt. Like, I'm still thinking like 6, 7, 8 wins is the peak. But I don't think that they're going to keep this up. They're going to face some tougher teams at some point. I think South Carolina was overrated. But for now, as things stand currently, Vanderbilt has a really good resume. They're passing the eye test. I'm going to put them at 17, and let's see how far they can climb. Mississippi State at 16, I'm doing a little bit of self-correcting with them as well. I had them lower last week than I should have. I just wanted to see more from them, and I shouldn't be impressed with a absolute beatdown over Alcorn State. But as I continue to look at their resume, I mean, they have a good quality win over Arizona State, and I was lower in Arizona State than most others. I'm not sure if I would have even had them ranked going into that game, but it's still a good win, and it's better than a lot of teams have. They're undefeated. They're looking good. It's just really hard to put them this high, but I'm going to do it. I put them at 16, and you know what? Shame on the AP poll, because they still have not ranked Mississippi State. They beat their top 12 team, Arizona State. The AP poll put Arizona State in the top 12 for some reason. Mississippi State beat them. They did. They beat them. And what did the AP poll do? They didn't rank Mississippi State. In fact, the following week, Arizona State was closer to being ranked than Mississippi State. They still don't have Mississippi State ranked. They're wrong. They're wrong. Because Mississippi State has earned a spot in the rankings. I'm not saying they're going to stay there. In fact, I would be very pleasantly surprised if they stay there. But right now, they deserve it. And I'm going to base my rankings on merit, on talent, and how you look, and what is earned. And right now, Mississippi State has a good win over Arizona State, and they're passing the eye test. So, as of right now, they belong here in the rankings. Where exactly you would put them, it's up to you. It's really hard to rank a team that was expected to be terrible. That's why the AP poll just won't rank them at all. But they belong pretty high in the rankings with a good win. So, there we go. Responding here in the chat, Miami Dolphins are winning. Thank you for the update. That is shocking. Surely that won't last. The rankings weekly, yes, I'm doing these rankings weekly. I'm going to do NFL rankings as well. That's out on the channel as a short right now, because I just didn't have the energy for a video the other night, honestly. But I am going to start doing these weekly. Hopefully this will be a weekly stream/show, whatever you want to call it. So, yeah, this will be a weekly thing. This is the first time doing this, though. Now, moving on, we're going to get into the top 15 here, 11 through 15. Let's get them revealed. SEC heavy. SEC heavy. I am an SEC guy, but I'm not biased. I don't favor them just because they're SEC. But I'll explain. Illinois at 15, I've already heard complaints from people about that. Why are we not respecting Illinois? Tell me, what have they done to be moved up higher? You could argue that they should be below some of the teams I've talked about. Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Iowa State, they all have better wins than Illinois. It's true. But I'm putting Illinois at 15 because I am going to say their win over Duke is at least worth something. I think Duke is still a solid team. I don't think they're great or anything, but it's fine. It's better than what some teams on this list have. It's better than what Alabama has, I'll tell you that. I wouldn't have Illinois in the top 10 like the AP poll does. I think that's silly. I'm not going to say a win over Duke warrants that, but I will say that they are passing the eye test and they're playing good football, so I am going to put them fairly high, but I want to see more. If they beat Indiana this weekend, yeah, they'll probably be in my top 10 at that point, because I think that'd be a good win. Indiana's one of my first teams out. Illinois, I just need to see more. I'm not trying to disrespect them. In fact, it is out of respect for how they've looked so far that I have them in my top 15 at all. Ole Miss at 14, they're a tricky one because they've not really looked that good to me, but I do respect beating Arkansas. I think that it shouldn't have been as ugly as it was. I don't think it should have been as ugly as it was over Arkansas. I think the defense was really concerning for Ole Miss. I love that offense, though, and I think they'll figure it out. I think this is a good team. I respect the win. Gonna need to see more, though, or you can see Ole Miss drop in my rankings in the coming weeks. Tennessee at 13. Tennessee at 13. I didn't expect it, but they looked fantastic against us. You could argue they should have beaten us if they just made that field goal at the end of regulation. They had it. They choked it away, though. They choked it away. But they have all my respect for that game. To me, they look like one of the best teams in the SEC. The reason they're not higher is because they do have a loss. Now, someone brought up, why is Tennessee above Ole Miss? it comes down to eye test. Like, Tennessee actually looks like a great team, and Ole Miss, they don't look that good. They have a win over Arkansas, and I respect that more than a lot of people will, but it can only get you so far. I need to see more from Ole Miss, a more complete performance. Tennessee, they look really good. They're passing the eye test with flying colors here. I was tempted to put them even higher. But getting to these Tiger teams here, Missouri, I love their win over Kansas. I really do. I know that's a weird thing to say in 2025, but Kansas is actually a good team. I believe, at least. We'll find out in the coming weeks, I'm sure. But I think that when their quarterback is healthy, they're an 8 or 9 win team. You can clip that if you want. You can come back to it at the end of the season, see how far off I am. But I'm pretty sure Kansas is that good. Auburn, I love their win over Baylor. Baylor's one of my first teams out. And Baylor has a quality win over SMU. I like that win a lot for Auburn. I would have liked it if Auburn looked better against South Alabama last weekend. But either way, the overall body of work has me putting these teams pretty high up. Mizzou, they definitely passed the eye test so far. Really interested to see how they look this week against South Carolina. Auburn, again, I just love their win over Baylor. I love the talent over there. See if they can actually be consistent this year and put it all on the field against good teams. So, there you go, 11 through 15. Let's get into the top 10 here. 6 through 10 coming up. Here we go, Penn State at 10. Penn State at 10, that's going to make some people upset, but same thing with Illinois. Who have you beaten? At least Illinois can hang their hat on a win over Duke, which, again, not that special, but at least it's a power win against a decent team. Penn State has just literally, they've beaten nobody. They've beaten nobody with respect to the teams they've played. In fact, I'll go ahead, I'll pull up their schedule because the AP poll has them at number 2. I'd love to know what they've done to deserve being number 2. What warrants that? They've beaten Nevada, yeah. Florida International, yeah. Florida International and Villanova. Yeah, Villanova. They've got a football team, in case you didn't know. They're not just a basketball school. So, yeah, those are the teams Penn State has beaten. I don't know how that warrants being ranked in the top 2 by the AP poll, but that's what they did. I've got them at 10. I think they're really talented, and they obviously are passing the eye test so far, but who wouldn't against that schedule, am I right? So, I need to see more from Penn State. Obviously, if the talent matches up with what they're expected to do, they're gonna fly into the top 2 of my rankings at some point, but as of right now, it has not been earned, it's not deserved, and the teams ahead of them actually have quality wins to back it up, which brings me, surprise, number 9 Georgia Tech. I'm giving this to them as a Georgia fan, so, I'm not being biased or anything, like, I don't want them in my top 10, but Georgia Tech, they have 2 power wins, one over Colorado, which I didn't love that win, and in fact, how close it was kept them out of my top 25 initially, because it was ugly. They had turnovers in that game early on, I think the first 3 possessions of the game, and that carried over into the next week. But then against Clemson, they controlled that game. They beat up on Clemson. It was a close game in the final score. They would walk-off field goal, I believe. But, yeah, Georgia Tech, there's not really much doubt who was going to win. Georgia Tech, I think they have a really good team. They're really gutsy, gritty. You got the quarterback there, Haynes King. Toughest player I've seen in a long time. I watched him against Georgia last year. I know that's last year, but I'm talking about a specific player here. He's so tough, man. He is so tough, and I expect Georgia Tech to be a real player in the ACC this year. I think they could get to 10 wins. I really do. I don't like it, but I think they're capable of it. Keep an eye on them. That's all I'm saying. I'm really respecting the win over Clemson. I know I don't have them in my rankings. They're 1 and 2. You're not going to be in my rankings if you're 1 and 2. Also, Notre Dame 0 and 2. No, you're not in my rankings. Shame on the AP poll for that. No, I'm still going to respect the win because I think it is a quality win over a good team. If they were power ranked, Clemson would be in the top 15 or 20. That's still a good team. So I respect it. That's why they're in my top 9. Texas A&M at 8. Yeah, I love that win over Notre Dame. I know Notre Dame's not ranked either, but back to the power rankings comparison, if you power ranked the teams, Notre Dame would be top 10. Now, these aren't power rankings, though. These are rankings based on merit, based on what you've earned. So A&M, I think that's a quality win. That's one of the best wins you can get in the country. I wasn't as impressed with A&M the 2 weeks prior, but you got to respect the overall body of work. I'm putting them at 8 here. Oklahoma I have above Texas A&M because I think they've looked better overall. And I value the win over Michigan more than I value the win over Notre Dame. I just think Michigan... I have Michigan ranked, so I respect them more than Notre Dame in terms of rankings right now. So by that reasoning, I'm going to put Oklahoma higher than Texas A&M because they have a better win. Oregon at 6. You could argue for them to be lower because of the best win reasoning I've been using. Oregon, to me, just, they look, in terms of look, they look like the best team in the nation. if I had to pick a national champion right now, well, it would be Georgia because I'm biased, but it would be Oregon as the next team up. Like I think of Oregon that fondly. They look that good to me. I know they've got the talent. They don't really have a quality win. I mean, they beat Oklahoma State. No one's going to count that as a quality win. But winning, what was it, 69-3 or something like that? Like, it was disgusting. It was terrible. It was an embarrassment, and Oklahoma State should have fired their coach on the spot. I don't know why Mike Gundy still has a job, honestly. That's another thing I have a problem with. But that's neither here nor there. Oregon, just a resounding statement win there. Looked a little slower against Northwestern, but whatever. I'm not worried about that. I've got Oregon at 6. I don't think that's unreasonable. Now, my top 5, yeah, this is definitely also going to throw some people off here. Last removal here. LSU at 5. I know LSU fans might not love that. They're going to point to their 2 quality wins, because by my own words, I've already given credit to South Florida for a win over Florida. And Clemson, I gave Georgia Tech credit for a win over Clemson. That's why LSU is in my top 5. I think they have 2 good wins. The problem with LSU for me is they don't look good. All right, they have a good defense, it looks like. Their offense just hasn't gotten going yet, and if that offense ever gets going, then yeah, LSU is going to look scary. But I'm not projecting here with my rankings. I'm not going to project that because LSU is going to get their offense going in a few weeks, they should be number 1. That's not how this is going to work. This is based on what we've seen so far, and based on what we've seen so far, I'm putting LSU at 5. LSU at 5. Ohio State at 4, that's something a lot of people won't like. And these top 4, honestly, if you want to put them in any order, you can do that, and I would probably be able to get behind it as long as you can explain it. Ohio State at 4, it's just, the win over Texas doesn't look as good as it used to in my eyes. Like, it's still a quality win, obviously still a quality win, but as the weeks go by, I'm less impressed. Florida State, they have a win over Alabama. As you can see here, I have Alabama ranked above Texas, and I explained that already. So, by that reasoning, I think Florida State has a better win than Ohio State. And I also think Florida State overall has just passed the eye test better than Ohio State, which is crazy to say, but that's just how it has been so far. I didn't love how Ohio State struggled with Ohio last week. Ohio's not a great team. I think they're probably better than we realize, but they shouldn't be a team Ohio State struggles with. So Florida State is above Ohio State for right now. This does not mean I would pick Florida State to beat Ohio State in the game. It means I think based in terms of rankings on merit, I'm going to put Florida State higher for now. For now, that'll change at some point, I'm sure, because Ohio State faces a tougher schedule. But yeah, Georgia at 2. Yeah, I see you saying it. You got your own team at 2nd, obviously. Obviously, I don't mean to be biased here. And believe me, I wanted to put us at 1. I couldn't do it, though. I wanted to put us at 1, but I couldn't do it. I got us at 2 because I think we just got one of the best wins in the country. In fact, right now, that is the best win in the country. At Tennessee. We went to Neyland Stadium. We hushed that crowd up. Now, it was a lucky win, a little bit lucky. We had to be good enough and talented enough to get ourselves into position to win that game. I don't know how. Gunnar Stockton was insane. He was elite in that game. Carson who? I don't miss Beck. His team's number 1. Anyway, Gunnar Stockton played lights out. The receivers are actually catching passes at Georgia now. Yeah, that's a thing that we can do, apparently. So that's nice. The defense is looking a little concerning in that secondary. We've got some young guys playing. They're going to have to man up real fast to play Alabama in a couple of weeks. Yeah, I like our win at Tennessee, so we got us real high in the rankings. Miami at 1. Miami at 1 because I think they have the best resume. I do. I think they have the best resume, and this isn't one that I had to think about a lot. I very quickly put Miami at 1 and then tried to figure out who to put between 2, 3, and 4. And 2, 3, and 4 is just ranked in order of who has the best win. Georgia over Tennessee is the best win. Florida State over Bama is second best win. Ohio State over Texas is third best win. Miami at 1, they don't have the best win. But they have 2 really good wins that I like a lot. They beat Notre Dame, which, if you've been listening, you know that I count that as a quality win. I think that is a fantastic win. That win alone put Texas A&M at 8 in my rankings. So that automatically means that Miami has to be at least 8. And then you factor in an absolute beatdown over South Florida, who the AP poll decided should not be ranked, even though that's absolute crap and they've earned a ranking, which is why they're in my rankings. According to me, Miami just beat the crap out of number 22 South Florida. So that's 2 quality wins. That's better than anyone else has got. To me, that's better than anyone else has got. And they passed the eye test really well. And we know Miami's got talent. They always have talent. It's just that they can't get it together on the field. So far this year, though, they've gotten it together. And again, I'm not projecting. I'm not saying it's going to stay this way. Because they could lose this week for all I know. They're playing a talented Florida team. For all I know, they could lose to Florida this week. We'll get to that later. But for now, Miami has the best body of work, and they're passing the eye test. I'm putting them at number 1 because I think it's earned so far. And maybe after this week, things change. But for now, this is my top 25. You can let me know if you disagree. You can let me know how I'm wrong. I'm trying to do this based on logic, reasoning, looking at what has actually happened on the field, not looking at your brand name, Alabama. The AP poll having them at 14 is still sickening. They've done nothing to be ranked 14th. 23 seems much more right. I didn't even want them to be in the top 25, but it's hard to rank some other teams that appeared. Some shout-outs to teams that I considered. Indiana, I just need to see them beat a real team. I don't think we've really seen that yet. Sort of like Penn State, except I think Penn State is just much more talented. But we'll get there with Indiana. We're going to find out this week how they look against a ranked team, Illinois. BYU, I considered. They've looked really good so far, but not quite there yet. TCU could be ranked soon. I mentioned Baylor because I love their win over SMU, and they have a loss to a ranked Auburn team, so Baylor is pretty high up for me. Let's see, Tulane, one of the favorites in the group of 5. South Florida should still be the favorite there, but Tulane is up there as well. Whoever wins the American, honestly, they're going to be a playoff team. So North Texas, you got to keep an eye on North Texas. Apparently, they're good this year, because why not? Let's see, who else was there? Nebraska. Yeah, keep an eye on Nebraska. If they win this week, I can confirm they will appear in my rankings. So this is my top 25. Yeah, let me know what you think. Let me check in on the chat here. Hey, Midnight. Hope you and yours are well. Appreciate it. Watching Bills Dolphins with Grossi. I bet that's fun. Appreciate you saying hi. Hope you enjoy your time with the Grossi posse. Yeah, I am not checking out Bills Dolphins tonight unless it gets interesting in the second half, I guess. I just assume Buffalo's going to blow them out. But if it's a good game, that's better for the NFL. Nathaniel, what have you been saying? Obviously, I own Team Second. What a last-minute winner. Congratulations. I call last-minute scenes. Man, that was crazy. It was crazy. It's the best thing you can get in football, though. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Roll Tide, Bama is getting better. Thanks for stopping by earlier, Shelly Green. Sorry I did not reply sooner. Yes, Bama is getting better. That's why I got them ranked. They're looking really good after week 1. We'll see if they can keep it up against my dogs in next week. All right. It's 7-7 so far between the Bills and Dolphins. Fascinating. All right, appreciate you guys keeping me updated on that. I'll definitely keep an eye on that score. Maybe it's going to be interesting. It's a little surprising. I feel like Buffalo should be able to run up the score on them if they want. But all right. Well, we're going to move along now. We've spent enough time on my college football rankings, so again, if you have any questions about my rankings or about teams that I ranked or teams I didn't rank, you can let me know. I'll get to them for sure. But for now, we've got 10 games to predict. We're going to start off with one of the more interesting games of the week in my eyes. It is Texas Tech taking on Utah. So these are teams that I ranked, both in my top 20. I think it was 20 and 19 or something like that. Both of these teams need a quality win to shoot up the rankings, and they have a chance to get it here against each other. Texas Tech has looked elite so far, and I think that they have a really good quarterback. They have a really good offense. I think that they're going to be able to move the ball against most teams they played this year. And I think that they have a chance to get an absolute statement win here. Because if they blow out Utah, I don't think people are just going to say, oh, Texas Tech is the favorite in the Big 12. I think they're going to start saying, oh, Texas Tech might be a playoff team. Like, they might be able to go to the playoffs and win a game. In my eyes, on paper at least, I think Texas Tech has the ability to be better than what Arizona State was last year. I think this Texas Tech team is more talented than last year's Arizona State team. That might seem crazy to you. I don't know. But if you go do some research on what's going on in Lubbock, like, they are actually trying hard to build a contending team this year. They are trying to build, via the portal, basically, in the trenches, they're building an SEC team. That's what it looks like, at least. And we're going to find out if that's the case against Utah here, because Utah's not your average Big 12 team. They were never your average Pac-12 team either, when the Pac-12 was a good conference with real teams in it. Utah's always been less talented than the other teams they face, but they're always very well coached, and they always play tough, and you can never really count them out, except last year. Last year was a strange year for them. But this year, Utah comes in with Devin Dampier at quarterback, and he's had a really good season. I've got the stats pulled up here. He's only got 628 yards in 3 games, but also, they've not needed him to do much. Utah has played UCLA, Cal Poly, and Wyoming, if I'm not mistaken. As it turns out, Wyoming might be the toughest of those teams. I don't know. UCLA looks really bad, dude. UCLA looks really bad. So Utah, we've not actually seen them against a good team. So this is going to be really interesting. It's going to tell us a lot about this Utah team. I've seen a lot of people very high on Utah. I've seen some people not even rank Utah. So no one really knows what to do with them. I think they're really good. I think they're really talented. I'm more interested in Texas Tech, though, because I think that they have much more potential than Utah. Just that's my take. Ultimately, to me, this is going to come down to Morton. Barry Morton at Texas Tech. He's the quarterback for them. He's got 923 passing yards this year, 11 touchdowns, only 1 interception. Now, you can use the opponent's argument here for Tech as well. They've not really played anyone. I'll pull up their schedule as well. They've played Arkansas Pine Bluff. I don't even know what that is. They've played Kent State. They don't even know what Kent State is. They don't play football. They've played Oregon State. As I previously mentioned, apparently Oregon State is not good this year. They're 0-3. They've not looked good all season. That's a surprise to me personally, but nonetheless, neither of these teams has really played anyone. It's really hard to know what's going to happen here. So it's hard to make a pick, but I'm going to try. I'm going to pick Texas Tech. I'm going to side with the Red Raiders because ultimately I believe in this offense. I think that the Red Raiders offense is going to put up at least 30 on Utah, and that might be bold. This might be a terrible take by me, but I love their offense. I think they're going to score at least 30, and I think that's going to be enough for them to win the game. I've got the final score being something like 30-20. I believe in Texas Tech much more than Utah. Hopefully this ages well, but I wouldn't be surprised by any result here, honestly. So that's my take, and Texas Tech should be the favorite to win the Big 12. Can't wait to see how this ages. Now, we're going to move on here. We got an interesting matchup. It is Arkansas taking on Memphis. And this is going to fly under the radar to most college football fans. I don't think most people are going to talk about this, but Memphis is in the American Conference. That's where South Florida is, who is currently the leader in the Group of 5 playoff race spot. Tulane, they're not far behind. They have an argument to be ranked right now. They're one of the first teams out in the AP poll, I believe. Not that I believe in the AP poll, but I also think they're one of my first teams out. Memphis is trying to keep up with those guys. If they can beat Arkansas this week, they have a good case. They probably deserve to be ranked above Tulane at least if they beat Arkansas. You could argue they should be in the top 25 at that point. I wouldn't be surprised if they are in the top 25 if they beat Arkansas. Arkansas, on the other hand, I think it's interesting for them because if they lose this game, I think their season's over. I think Arkansas' season is over if they lose to Memphis. And I'll pull up their schedule and tell you why. Because after Memphis, they play Notre Dame. They're probably losing to Notre Dame. They go to Tennessee. Neyland is a tough place to play. I don't think they beat Tennessee. Then they play Texas A&M. They play Auburn. They play Mississippi State, who apparently is good this year. They play at LSU. They play at Texas. And they end the season with Missouri. So yeah, if Arkansas doesn't win this game, it's going to be really hard for me to find any other wins on their schedule. Memphis is the easiest remaining team on their schedule. They got to get this win. They got to come up with it. They got to find a way. And I'm going to say that they do. Because I'm not high in Memphis. I saw a lot of people saying, oh, Memphis is a playoff team this year. Oh, Memphis is really good. Well, we've been saying that for years. They're the same team every year, it feels like. And I've not been impressed with them so far. They've been good. I just don't think that they're good enough to beat a team like Arkansas, which a lot of people roast Arkansas. They make fun of them, but I think Arkansas is actually very talented. And I think they showed it against Ole Miss last week. They've got a great offense. They just don't have much of a defense, as it turns out. So it's possible Memphis can score enough to keep up. So far, their offense hasn't been that good, though. I'm pretty confident Arkansas is going to be able to score on Memphis. I'm just not so sure that Memphis is going to score enough to keep up. So give me Arkansas on this one. Memphis is going to fall behind in the Group of 5 race. Arkansas is going to keep their season alive. If they lose this game, though, their coach is done this year. That's it. Coach is done. Give me Arkansas, though. Now, moving on to another matchup that some people just aren't going to be interested in. It is TCU at SMU. And maybe this matchup isn't going to be that good. I don't know. It's possible this is a blowout. It's possible this is a blowout. But which team, you wonder? Because SMU was ranked in the preseason. Not by me. Not by me. I don't do preseason rankings. I think those are silly. I rank by conferences, but I don't rank top 25. TCU, not many people were high on them coming into the year. I saw whispers from some people that, oh, TCU, they could be a dark horse in the Big 12. They could be a sleeper. Now, me personally, I didn't see it. I didn't buy it. I'm more interested in Texas Tech. So far, TCU has looked good. It's only been 2 games. They've only played 2 games. They beat the crap out of North Carolina. Bill Belichick is their coach now, by the way, in case you hadn't heard. You probably have. And then they beat up on a lower level team. I don't remember who it was. But they've looked good so far. They've looked good. We're going to find out what all that means against SMU. SMU has not looked good. They took a loss to Baylor. They were leading that game. They choked it at the end. And then they've played 2 low-level schools. They played an FCS team, East Texas A&M. I'm pretty sure that's a real school, according to ESPN. And then they played close with Missouri State longer than they should have. So SMU's not been impressive. I know they've got plenty of talent. They returned a lot of production from last year's playoff team. That being said, I'm going to take TCU here. Based on what we've seen so far, TCU looks like the better team. Kevin Jennings, quarterback at SMU, he's struggled a little bit this season with 3 interceptions, only 6 touchdowns. Josh Hoover, quarterback for TCU. I don't know where he was previously, but so far I think he leads the nation in completion percentage. 76% of his passes being completed. 48 out of 63, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception, 623 passing yards. Not bad. Not bad. So I am going to go TCU here. I'm going to hope that ages well. TCU has kind of snuck up on me this year. I think that they could be a player in the Big 12. Like some people were saying in the preseason. TCU looks good. We'll see if they can keep up with the other teams in the Big 12, but if they can, don't forget about them. Now, we'll move on from these teams. We'll go on to a much juicier matchup. One I'm really excited about, and I think a lot of people are. You got Oklahoma taking on Auburn. Oklahoma taking on Auburn, and this is a revenge game of sorts. Jackson Arnold, he was the former quarterback at Oklahoma. They benched him. He was not a good fit for that offense, as it turns out. So what happened? He went to Auburn. Auburn took him. Auburn needs a quarterback, they said. They hadn't had a good quarterback in years. I couldn't tell you the last time they had a good quarterback. And believe me, I've watched a ton of Auburn football. I live with Auburn fans. I have to root for them 11 times out of the year to still live with my family. So, jokes aside, Auburn's not had a good quarterback in a long time. I'm not completely convinced they do have a good quarterback yet, at least in terms of passing. They haven't had to ask a lot of Jackson Arnold so far. They've mostly relied on the ground game with him. Their leading rusher, Jay Cobb, has 314 rushing yards. Auburn's always got a good running back. Always underrated, but always productive. They've got a good running quarterback this year. They have a very, very talented receiver group this year. But I've not seen anything from their passing game for the most part. They've only got 501 passing yards in 3 games. And I'll tell you who they've played so far, for what it's worth, because it's not been easy, but they played Baylor. I've already said I really respect the game against Baylor. I think that's a really good win for Auburn, and that's why I've got them ranked so high in my rankings. I got them at 11. I really respect that win. The AP poll doesn't. They have Auburn at 22, which I think is too low. The wins over Ball State and South Alabama, I don't respect those. Anyone can beat Ball State this year, unfortunately. South Alabama, I think they're more feisty than they're given credit for, but it's not going to move anyone. Beating them by 16 points is not exactly a good look. Meanwhile, Oklahoma, you've already know I'm really high on them. Really high on the Sooners. The AP poll has them at 11. I don't know how they ended up putting them at 11 based on their own reasoning. They should be higher because they beat Michigan, but I don't know. The AP poll never makes sense. Oklahoma, they've only really got the one game to judge on. It's the game against Michigan. They won by 11 points against Michigan. And I watched that game. It very easily could have been a blowout, but Oklahoma just kept making mistakes, allowing Michigan to stay close, but then Michigan would not be able to capitalize. Oklahoma is capable of being so much better than they were in that win against a very good Michigan team. Their other wins are against Illinois State and Temple. I'm not even sure which team is worse. I'm sorry, Temple, you're probably better than them. I don't think Temple's that bad. But anyway, Oklahoma, they've beaten Michigan. That's really all we've seen of them against a good team. So one of these teams could be exposed. Both of these teams could be exposed, I guess. Or maybe both of these teams are going to be really good. My take is Oklahoma's going to win this game by double digits. It's at home. I think they've got more talent overall. If Auburn had showed something in the passing game so far this season, I would feel comfortable taking them, but they haven't. I haven't seen it yet. If Jackson Arnold proves me wrong on Saturday, I would love that. I'm rooting for Auburn in this game. I'll come out and say that. I'm rooting for Auburn. I would love to see them win this game. But I think Oklahoma's defense is going to make life difficult on Jackson Arnold. They were able to make life difficult on Bryce Underwood, the freshman quarterback at Michigan, who is a dual-threat quarterback. I think Bryce Underwood's better than Jackson Arnold. So I don't see Jackson Arnold being that successful against this defense, and I don't see him suddenly being able to throw the ball downfield and be able to push that secondary. Oklahoma's offense, I think they're going to be able to score enough on Auburn. It's going to be probably a gross game, but I expect Oklahoma to win this game. So give me the Sooners. I don't love it, but that's what I'm going with. Would love to be wrong. Now, we'll move on from that. We'll go over to Tulane taking on Ole Miss. Now, this is another interesting game. It's sort of like Memphis against Arkansas, where a lot of people might not care. In this case, though, both teams are undefeated. Ole Miss is ranked. The AP poll has them at 13. I think that's a little high, but I'm not far behind. I think I had them at 14. So, Tulane, we both agree, are unranked. If Tulane pulls the upset here, we're going to have a serious conversation about Ole Miss, about them being fraudulent this year. I've been high on Ole Miss since the offseason. I got a lot of hate for it and a lot of love for it. I met some very, very awesome Ole Miss fans. If you're hearing this, I appreciated you guys in the comments, Ole Miss fans. You guys were pretty awesome. I'm rooting for Ole Miss here. I was pro Ole Miss all offseason. I really hope that they get it together, and I'm going to pick them to win this game. Nothing against Tulane. I picked against Tulane last week and got burnt for it, so you'd think I'd learned my lesson, but I would be very, very surprised if Tulane manages to pull this off. I don't see their defense being able to stop whichever quarterback Ole Miss trots out to start the game. I think Austin Simmons is going to play. I think that's a good thing. If Trinidad Chamberlain plays, though, Chamberlain, is that his name? I don't know. If either of their quarterbacks plays, I think Ole Miss is going to put up points. It's going to be on Tulane to keep up. And judging by how Ole Miss's defense looked last week, I guess it wouldn't be that big of a surprise, but I don't think Tulane has the high-powered offense to do that like Arkansas does. So, give me Ole Miss somewhat confidently. If they get upset, though, I'll eat my words. I'll say I was wrong about Ole Miss. I'll make a whole video saying how wrong I was about Ole Miss this year. But for now, give me Ole Miss. They're going to win this game. Now we'll move on to a highly, highly anticipated matchup here. You got Michigan at Nebraska. Lincoln Field, they are going to be loud. They're going to be crazy. Nebraska is going to be ready for this game. And you know what? I'm excited. I'm excited for this game because this is going to tell us if Nebraska is legit this year or not. We're going to see them face a good team. Nebraska so far, the reason I don't have them ranked, or part of it, is they just haven't looked good against the one decent team they've played, and that was week 1 against Cincinnati. It was an ugly game against Cincinnati in week 1. 20-17, the final score of that. And I wasn't impressed. Since then, though, they have demolished their opponents. Unfortunately, they are two teams that don't know how to play football, so you can't read too much into that. Michigan, meanwhile, I mean, they're a team with a loss, and they're in my rankings, which there aren't many of those. So, I really respect Michigan. So, this is a tough matchup to predict. Part of me wants to just say Michigan should win because they have a dual-threat quarterback, and watching Cincinnati's dual-threat quarterback in Week 1 against the Nebraska defense run all over them tells me Michigan is probably going to do the same thing, and their defense is probably going to shut down Dylan Raiola and the Nebraska offense. But I've got this weird gut feeling that I just cannot shake. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like Nebraska is going to find a way to win this game at home. I think that the crowd, the energy, the atmosphere they're going to have at Lincoln Field, is it called Lincoln Field? The crowd at Lincoln, at least. I think that they are going to be loud, they're going to be crazy, they're going to be so passionate, it's going to affect this game. And you know the rule, in year 3 under Matt Rule, his college teams, they break out. Of course, he can't do that for my pro team. Of course not. He's got to make the pro team worse, but in college, he has a history of success. I'm going to buy into that. I'm going to say Nebraska somehow finds a way to get the job done here. I'm going to say their defense plays a third really good game this year. They've not given up more than 17 points this season in a game. Chalk that up to lack of competition, but it's still true. We're going to say that their defense holds Michigan in check in this game. We're going to say Nebraska under Dylan Raiola finds a way to score some points. Nebraska's going to find a way. I don't know how. I don't know how, but they're going to find a way, and you're going to have to start talking about them in the Big Ten. We're not going to like it, because you're going to hear from a lot of Nebraska fans, and their fans are passionate. Some of them are good, passionate. Some of them are less good, passionate. But I don't know, man. We're going to find out. Winner of this game gets to be in my rankings. Losers out. Losers out. Now, we'll move on to the next one. This is one that's kind of flying under the radar, I believe. It's Missouri at South Carolina. And this interests me a lot. This interests me a lot for a couple of reasons. First, you got Missouri, who, at least in terms of eye test, they have looked like an elite team. They have looked amazing so far. Let me pull up their schedule here. They absolutely obliterated Central Arkansas. Yes, that's a team. I guess. So I'm not going to read too much into that. But then they hung 52 on Louisiana Lafayette last week, which I don't think Louisiana is terrible by any means. But I think hanging 52 on them is a really good sign, and most of that was in the first half. So Missouri is showing they've got a loaded offense. A lot of their fans were telling me that this offseason, and I just didn't know. I take back what I said about Missouri in the preseason. Like they've got a lot of talent on offense, and they are showing it so far. They hung 42 on Kansas. I already said I think Kansas is a really good team when their quarterback is healthy. I got them winning 8 or 9 games this year. So Missouri has gained a ton of respect in my eyes. I respect them so much based on what we've seen so far, and I'm really interested to see how far they can go, because their schedule, if they get past South Carolina, they got Massachusetts. They are going to destroy Massachusetts. They play Alabama at home. Based on how the teams have looked so far, I wouldn't be surprised if Missouri could beat them. They play at Auburn and at Vanderbilt. I mean, I would say Missouri's probably more talented so far than those teams. Texas A&M, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, Arkansas. Like, Missouri has a chance to win a lot of games in the SEC this year. So if they get past South Carolina, we got to start talking about it. Now, on South Carolina's side of things, it's been pretty ugly. I said last week, I picked them to beat Vanderbilt, but I said, don't be surprised either way. Don't be surprised. The AP poll shouldn't have put them that high in the rankings. It was ridiculous to begin with. Vanderbilt had a better argument to be ranked than South Carolina last week. And now they are ranked because they beat the crap out of South Carolina. Now you can say, yeah, Lenora Sellers was injured in that game. I noticed that. That affects their offense. Vanderbilt still scored 31 on South Carolina. That South Carolina defense gave up 31 points to Vanderbilt. What do you think Missouri's offense is going to do? I'm scared. Because based on what we've seen so far, Missouri's offense is going to move the ball on South Carolina's defense. They're going to be able to. You just have to hope that South Carolina's offense can keep up. And I think Sellers is going to play at quarterback. If he doesn't, South Carolina's doomed in this game. Bluntly, they're doomed. If Sellers plays, they got a chance. But I said last week, if they lose to Vanderbilt, their season's going off the rails. And let me read you their schedule after this week. They play Missouri, all right? Then they play Kentucky. Now, deep breath. The gauntlet begins. They play at LSU. They have home games against Oklahoma and Alabama. They play at Ole Miss. They play at Texas A&M. Right now, I'm not picking them to beat any of those teams. That's 5 losses in my books as of right now. And that would bring them up to 6 losses. That brings them to 6 losses. South Carolina would also still have to play Clemson. And this is without even knowing the result against Mizzou. So I think South Carolina is in deep, deep trouble right now after that loss to Vanderbilt. I think that's a win they needed because their schedule is brutal. And the way they've looked so far has been unimpressive. They got to get it together. Their offense hasn't been good at all this season. We go to their schedule again. They played a sloppy game against Virginia Tech, who apparently is just absolute garbage. Apparently, they fired the coach 3 games into the season. That tells you plenty about that team this year, unfortunately. They played too close with South Carolina State, who is an FCS team. You never want to play close with an FCS team. Again, I ask you, why did the AP poll have South Carolina ranked so high? It made no sense. It made no sense. Now, if you couldn't tell, I am picking Missouri in this game. I believe Missouri is going to score a lot of points on this defense. I do. It's unfortunate, and I really hate it for South Carolina because I love Lenora Sellers. I love that offense, at least I did coming into the season, but they've not shown anything. They've not shown anything, and they looked really bad in their first 3 weeks. Missouri's looked really good. This could be one of those things where logically it makes sense, but it doesn't matter because logic isn't a thing sometimes in college football. But I'm still going to say logically Missouri wins this game. I'm going to go with Missouri. I'm going to say Missouri wins. And Missouri fans, shout out to you. You guys tried to tell me in the offseason. So far, it's looking like you're going to be right. So respect to you guys for knowing your team. We'll move on from that one, and we'll go on to a pretty gross matchup, or maybe an upset, potentially. Miami taking on Florida. This matchup has lost a lot of its glamour in the past couple of weeks. A few weeks ago, this looked like, oh, this could be a top 10 matchup based on how these teams are playing, and then Florida had the audacity to lose at home to South Florida. I was laughing my head off at that. Respect to South Florida, but a ranked Florida team's not supposed to lose that game. And then Florida played at LSU, and their quarterback decided it was a good time to be generous, throwing five interceptions against that LSU defense. What do you make of this Florida team? Honestly, they have a really good defense. I believe that. I believe their defense is really good. The problem is their offense has been really bad so far. They put up 55 on Long Island University in Week 1. Have you ever heard of that team before? Because I haven't. They put up 16 on South Florida. They put up 10 on LSU. Against good teams, they're not able to score. Miami, meanwhile, I'm very impressed with. Their number one team in my rankings, so it would hurt a lot if they lose this game. I don't know what happens to my rankings if they lose this game. They played really well in Week 1 against Notre Dame. It was a close win, but still a very impressive win. It told me that they have a defense this year. If they had a defense last year, they would have been a playoff team. I feel very certain about that. They beat up an FCS school, so not much to write home about, but then they destroyed South Florida, and I have a lot of respect for that team. Miami's been very impressive so far. Very, very impressive. They've got a good offense again. It looks like they have a good defense. Logically, Miami should dominate Florida. They should. But you gotta remember, Florida's still a very talented team. If DJ Lagway uses his talent in this game, if he suddenly gets it together and plays good football, it's possible. It's possible Florida's defense, which I just said is really good, I think that Miami's not going to score too many points. I think Florida can hold them to somewhere in the 20s. If they can do that and DJ Lagway plays a good game, he finds his talented receiver group, he hands the ball off to his running back, and the offensive line does its job, if Florida can move the ball on this team without turning it over 5 times, there's a chance that there's an upset here. Do not be surprised if this is a close game. Florida is fully capable of winning this game. A few weeks ago, I would have picked them to win it. Even after Miami beat Notre Dame, I was ready to pick Florida in this game. And then Florida had the past 2 weeks happen, and yeah. So, at the end of the day, I'm not going to be brave enough to pick Florida for the upset. I tried it last week, and then DJ Lagway decided to do his best Nathan Peterman impression and throw 5 interceptions. So, I'm not doing that again. I got to go with Miami here. I think they're really good. I think they're legit this year. And also, these teams have a common opponent in South Florida. One of these teams lost to South Florida. The other beat them by 37 points. With that information, how can you pick the team that lost to South Florida? I can't do it. I can't. Give me Miami. I'm not going to hesitate. If I'm wrong, then what's even happening at that point? How? I don't understand anything. We're going to move on from that. I'm going to move on from that and go over to a ranked matchup. Both of these teams ranked by the AP. Not by me, though. Yet. It's Indiana taking on Illinois. A ranked matchup. If you told someone this was a matchup that would be ranked 2 years ago, they would have thought you were crazy. But no, Indiana's a legitimate program now. They're a really good team. I don't have them ranked because they just... let me tell you who they've beaten. They have a 13-point win over Old Dominion, which in retrospect, maybe that's better than I give it credit for. But they have 2 wins over FCS teams. I'm sorry. That's disrespectful to Kennesaw State. Are they an FBS team now? I think they're a newer FBS team. Okay, fine. They only have 1 win over an FBS team, and then a win over a team that was recently FCS. Okay, alright. Yeah, they beat Kennesaw State, they beat Indiana State, and they looked really good doing that, but most teams would. Close win over Old Dominion. We'll see if Old Dominion is actually legit. They destroyed Virginia Tech. I don't really know what that means yet. I think Virginia Tech is just bad, but we'll see. Indiana, Illinois, like I said earlier when I ranked Illinois at 15, they have a solid win over Duke. That game was close for 3 quarters. People didn't watch that game because it's really boring and most people don't care about those 2 teams, but I kept an eye on it, and Duke was in that game for 3 quarters. They were in that game until Illinois scored 17 points in the 4th quarter and put the game away. So, all I'm saying is, I don't think Illinois is actually elite by any means. I think that they're a very solid team. I think they're well coached. I think they're a lot like Wisconsin was years ago, always dominating that whatever division they were in the Big Ten. Indiana, it's hard to get a read on right now because they've not played anyone. But my gut tells me Indiana's going to win this game. And I'm sorry, Illinois fans. I know you're tired of me disrespecting Illinois. And to be fair, I did it all year. Last year, I disrespected Illinois constantly, and then they beat South Carolina in a bowl game, and I was like, okay, guess they're good. I'm not trying to disrespect Illinois here. I think they're a very solid team. I just think Indiana is better. I think Indiana has a good enough offense led by, what's his name? Mendoza at quarterback. He transferred from Cal. Fernando Mendoza. I think he's a really good quarterback. Keep an eye on him this season. I think Indiana upgraded at quarterback, actually. So I expect Indiana to be able to put up points in Illinois, and it's going to be up to Luke Altmaier and the offense to keep up. And I'm not convinced that Illinois is able to do that. I don't think they're built to win like that. So give me Indiana in a close game. It's going to be sneaky exciting, just not as exciting as some other games that'll be on. Yeah, give me Indiana. I might regret it. I might have Illinois fans coming after me, but look, Illinois, if you guys win this game, I'll put you in my top 10. Indiana, if you win this game, you'll be ranked probably pretty high. So I'll be keeping my eye on this one. Playoff implications here for sure, if they can get into the playoffs with that large bid. All right, moving on to the final game I want to talk about. It is Baylor taking on Arizona State. Now, you can say there's some bias here when I pick this game, because my co-host Daniel is a Baylor fan, which has me inclined to root for Baylor. I also have been hyping up Baylor in the offseason, saying that they're a dark horse candidate. They're one of the first teams out of my rankings despite having a loss. Let's explore what these teams have done this year, shall we? Let's explore. Baylor opened the season with a 14-point loss to Auburn. I'm not really moved by that. That's fine. I think Auburn's really talented. They're really good. They beat SMU in a thrilling game. I was impressed by that. I was impressed that they were able to hang in there and come back and beat SMU, because they were trailing in that game. They showed a lot of fight. And then they beat up on Stanford, which I don't think says a ton, but it's something, I guess. I don't know. Arizona State, they beat North Arizona by 19 points. Not a flex. They beat Texas State by 19 points. That's also not a flex. And then they lost to Mississippi State, which I'm giving Mississippi State credit for that win, but I don't think Mississippi State is that good. I think they're fine. They're fine. It's not a team that Arizona State was supposed to lose to, and that it's unfortunate. I don't think Arizona State is that good this year. I thought they were overhyped in the preseason. I know a lot of people weren't picking them to win the conference, but I never understood why anyone was saying, oh, Arizona State is still going to be good, despite losing their best player, Cam Scatteroo. They still have Jordan Tyson at wide receiver. They got Sam Leavitt at quarterback. I think Leavitt isn't that good, though. He's fine. He's not as good as the guy Baylor has, though. Sawyer Robertson. Keep an eye on him. I think he's up there in passing yards. 1,070 passing yards in 3 games is crazy. 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's having an outstanding season so far. Keep an eye on the Baylor quarterback. Keep an eye on that offense. They can put up points. And I anticipate they're going to be able to score in Arizona State. The question is, can Arizona State keep up? I think they can for a little bit. But if this game gets into the 30s, it's Baylor's. And I think Baylor's going to be able to get into the 30s here. Give me the Bears in this game. Baylor's going to prevail. I believe it's a home game. This game has major Big 12 implications. The loser of this game is going to be, a step down from the others in the race for the conference title. Arizona State needs to win this game before falling to 2-2. Baylor can fall to 2-2. And, they don't have the same expectations coming into the year that Arizona State does. Arizona State, I don't know why people still like them. Some people are saying they should be ranked. I don't get it. This might age terribly for me, but I don't think Arizona State's that good. I think Baylor is that good. Give me the Bears. They're going to win at home. Baylor fans rejoice. And that's going to do it for my planned predictions for this week. You've got my takes on all the most interesting and possibly best games this week. We'll see what happens. If I didn't predict your team's game and you want me to, just let me know who your team is, who they're playing, and I'll give you my thoughts on that matchup. If I didn't predict a matchup, though, it probably means it either it doesn't interest me too much, like as much as the others do, or I just think the winner's really clear. But feel free to ask anyway. Let me see what's going on in the chat that I've missed. I'm sorry. Just because of Cam, and I don't care about Oklahoma Auburn. That's so valid. That's so valid. I feel that. I appreciate you staying over here, Midnight. That's nice of you. I'm double sorry I haven't been looking at chat. Nebraska and Coach Rule. Yeah, Coach Rule really burnt us. Still traumatized. Nebraska plays at Memorial Stadium in Lincoln. Okay, so it's not Lincoln Stadium or Lincoln Field or whatever I said earlier. It's just they play at Lincoln. In Lincoln. Alright, I'll try to remember that. Go Mizzou. Missouri for Vanderbilt in the SEC Championship. That'd be something. Miami by a lot. Wouldn't be surprised. Why does the Florida logo have 3 front teeth? One of them got knocked out, I bet. I don't know. I don't know. I hate Florida, so I'm going to say mean things about them. Indiana, Illinois is a coin flip. I agree. Did you do Vanderbilt/Georgia Tech before I came back? Georgia State. I did not do that one because I just assume Vanderbilt's going to win based on what we've seen. It would be, in a way, it would be really funny if Vanderbilt managed to lose to Georgia State a second consecutive season. I'm going to say this is just a Diego Pavia revenge game. I don't think it's going to be pretty. I fully expect Vanderbilt to win and cover by at least 30 points. Again, it would be really funny, though, if they don't. I'm not rooting for that outcome because I like Vanderbilt. I want them to win. But, yeah, Vanderbilt should win for sure. I have no doubt. Georgia State lost by 56 to Ole Miss and then by 22 to Memphis. Yeah. Choose a team you think can cause an upset this week. That's a good question. Let me think on that. So what do you mean by upset exactly? Because technically speaking, Texas Tech over Utah is an upset. I don't view it that way personally, but others do. I would assume you mean like unranked over ranked. Yeah, it's Georgia State this week. Tech is I actually have no idea who Tech is playing. I think they have someone easy or a bye week. I think they have a bye week this week. So Georgia Tech, like I said earlier, team to keep an eye on. Oh no, they play Temple this week. Georgia Tech's gonna win this week, just for the record. They're gonna beat Temple, and then they're gonna beat Wake Forest, and then they're gonna beat Virginia Tech, and then they're gonna beat Duke, and then they're gonna beat Syracuse. They're gonna beat North Carolina State. They're gonna beat Boston College. Or they're gonna beat Pitt. Oh my gosh, they're 11-0. I might regret saying that out loud. Can I edit that out of a live stream? I don't know if I want to stand by an 11-0 prediction there. They'll lose to one of those teams, be 10-1. Yeah, Vandy should stomp State, absolutely. Nathaniel, I'm still thinking. I think that Tulane can cause an upset over Ole Miss. They're fully capable of it. I'm not going to predict it. The one I am predicting is Nebraska over Michigan. I don't think that's a huge upset, given that Michigan's favored by 1.5. But, I mean, Michigan's ranked and Nebraska isn't, so most people would label it as an upset, even though it's really not that much of an upset, to be honest. Auburn over Oklahoma. Oklahoma's a touchdown favorite, so I think that counts as an upset, despite both teams being ranked. I would say that Auburn is very capable of winning that game, so they can cause that upset. Let's see. I'm going to tentatively keep an eye on Purdue against Notre Dame. There's no way Notre Dame loses to Purdue, you would think. But Purdue actually looked competent against USC last week. So, I don't know. Maybe something weird is brewing there for the Boilermakers. Florida over Miami, that's very possible with the talent they have. I'm not predicting it, though. Michigan State over USC is one to keep an eye on because we don't really know anything about Michigan State, and USC could definitely just collapse for no reason. You never know. I don't see a lot of opportunities for unranked teams upsetting ranked teams in terms of it actually being an upset. Like I said, Nebraska unranked against ranked Michigan, that would be labeled an upset, but I'm here to tell you that that's not really an upset. They're close enough that it shouldn't be an upset. Yeah, this isn't really a week for crazy upsets, I think. Like UAB against Tennessee, there's no way UAB pulls that off. Oregon State against Oregon, no way. Kent State over Florida State, no way. Temple over Georgia Tech, no shot, man. No. Georgia State over Vanderbilt, because it's Vanderbilt, I guess, technically, but no way. Southeastern Louisiana against LSU, I'd be shocked. Sam Houston against Texas, I'd be shocked. I don't think that we're in for a crazy upset this week. If we are, bring it. Bring it. I would love it. Upsets are better. Love to see a big-time upset. Yeah, it sounds like all wins left for Georgia Tech to you too, right? There's a chance that they're 11-0 going into the game against us, against Georgia. And that's a reality I'm not ready for. That's kind of crazy to think about, but it's very possible. Georgia Tech has a really simple path to the ACC championship game. Just win. You shouldn't lose more than one game against that ACC schedule. They avoid all the good ACC teams. The only good one they played was Clemson, and they beat them. So, no excuses for Tech if they can't get to the title game, honestly. Yeah, Nathaniel, that's a really good question you had earlier. Which team do I think can cause an upset? There are several I think that can. It's so hard to actually pick one, and it actually be an upset. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm sure that there's a lot of chaos brewing in college football this week. It's so difficult to tell where it's going to come from, though. So difficult. Probably going to be Florida over Miami just because that would throw people off the most. And it would be the funniest outcome after Florida has collapsed for the past 2 weeks. I don't want to see that happen. It would ruin my rankings. It would be something for me to not... I wouldn't be able to laugh at Florida this week, so... I don't know. When's your next NFL live stream? That's a good question. Let me think. I'll probably commentate the Panthers game on Sunday. I'll be a little bit late, probably about 30 minutes after it starts, if I had to guess. But I plan to commentate our game against the Falcons. Commentate, react, however you want to label it. Actually, I'll have to pull up the NFL games. I know Daniel and I have talked about commentating another game. I think we're probably not doing the Sunday night game. We have a Sunday night stream because we do that weekly. So Sunday night at 6:30 Central Time, we'll react to all all the games in the NFL. And then I think Monday Night Football we're going to commentate Ravens against Lions, so that'll be a good one. Never been a Vandy fan, but them doing better than Alabama, Florida, and other SEC Giants amuses me to no end. I agree with that. I loved it last year when they started winning games. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, I'm here for all the Vandy wins. For all I care, they can win the SEC. As long as we're still in the playoffs, they can win the conference. I'd be okay with that. Georgia fans might come after me for that, but I'm just saying, Vanderbilt winning would be an awesome story. Sometimes there are bigger things in college football than your own team. As long as my team still wins the championship, though. I mean, I'm just saying. Man, Miami's actually staying in the game against Buffalo. Is this saying more about Buffalo or Miami? Good grief. Oh, man, I can't wait to dive into that one later. Goodness. Hey, if something crazy happens in that game, I'll do a reaction to it later, because that's wild. That is wild. Yeah. That's crazy, man. Oh, boy. Alright, before I call it quits here, because this stream was only going to go long enough to cover my rankings and then predictions. Before we call it quits, just one final call out for any questions or just a Q&A sort of thing. If anyone has anything, now's your chance. You guys have already been great, though, asking questions, interacting. So any questions about NFL or college football, I'll entertain them for now. And then probably start watching Bills-Dolphins, since apparently that's going to be a competitive game. Who would have thought that? Not me. I made too many jokes. So that was my bad. Definitely my bad. Ravens-Lions should be an awesome game. Absolutely. I'm excited for that one. I'm excited. Baltimore's going to be able to put up points on Detroit. They definitely will. If the Lions can keep up, it'll be a great game. I just hope Baltimore doesn't blow them out, because I would not be surprised. They're capable of it. Baltimore's so good. They're so good. And I might be just overestimating them. I might be. I hope I'm not, because a lot of the things I've said about them are going to come back to bite me. Can the 49ers win this weekend or not? They absolutely can. They showed last week their offense is going to be fine without Brock Purdy. They can play with Mac Jones. He can throw the ball. He can find Ricky Pearsall. He can find Christian McCaffrey. He can find Juwan Jennings. Their offense is going to be functional with Mac Jones. They can win. I'm not picking them to win. I picked the Cardinals. That's just me. I think their defensive line is really good, and they're going to take advantage of some 49ers mistakes. But yeah, the 49ers can definitely win this weekend. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And if they do, that's going to be a fun storyline. Is Mac Jones a starting quarterback now? I guess so. Actually, I heard the other day that there's an outside chance Brock Purdy plays in the game. I don't think that's going to be the case, but it would be unfortunate for me if they do, because I made my prediction based on Purdy not playing. So, yikes. That would be unfortunate for me. Let me go see, actually, if there's an update on that, because that'd be pretty pivotal. Like, if Purdy plays, you would think that changes their outlook for the game. Yeah, Purdy reportedly happy with progress. He says we'll see for week 3, so I don't know what that means, man. I don't know if that means Purdy's going to play or not. Good question about the 49ers, though. It's projected that Purdy's going to play. Can I undo my 49ers-Cardinals prediction? I said the Cardinals would win. I don't know how confident I am now if the Niners starting quarterback is in. That makes it a whole lot more interesting. Yeah, that's valid, Midnight. That's valid. I will keep that in mind moving forward. That's a good point. I'll make a note of that to interact with the chat between every prediction or two. Every prediction. I'll do it between every prediction. That's my bad. That is my bad. My only excuse is my first time doing game predictions on a live stream. That's my only excuse. Not a good excuse. Not a good excuse. But you make a valid point. You make a valid point, and appreciate that for sure. We are very open to any advice we can get for trying to grow the channel here. It helps retain viewers from what I picked up from people such as Grossi. That's fair. I wish I could just be funny like Grossi. I would love to replicate what he does. Like, I love his content so much. I think I said it the other night. Like he's my inspiration for this sort of thing. Like I didn't know football content was a thing people could do until I found Grossi. So I just can't do the stuff that he does. I don't really think anyone can do what he does. But there are certain things that you do have to be able to do. I agree with that. That is definitely the case. Yeah, I got to interact with people in between things. So I will make sure. No, I got you, man. I got you. Not judging, of course. Passing on information. No, I appreciate that. You could have easily left after I didn't reply to some of the messages earlier. So, more power to you for not leaving. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I will keep that in mind. Yeah, gotta be mindful of that for sure. So I'll be good about that moving forward. I'll do my best. I plan to do weekly college football rankings and predictions. I don't think they'll be on Thursdays. I didn't intend for this to be on that Thursday. I actually wanted to do this yesterday, and then I just didn't have the energy for it, honestly. And that's a weak excuse, and I don't plan to use it much, but yeah, I was not feeling it yesterday. I'm gonna plan to do a weekly college football stream / show / whatever you want to call it on either Tuesdays, maybe Mondays. I haven't really decided what would be more ideal, because sometimes we do stream Monday nights, so I don't want to have to double down like that, back-to-back streams or anything. It might be a thing that happens sometimes, not really sure yet, but I'm gonna try to have that like as a weekly thing, set at a weekly time. Probably gonna go with Tuesdays, but we'll see. This is a young channel. This is a very young channel. This is actually our first time making any kind of football content during the season. We started Football for Fun 2 years ago, 2023 in the off season, and well, for some reason we just kind of fell apart right before the season began. We just stopped making content. We both got busier, and it just stopped. And then a couple years later, we're like, hey, why don't we get back to it? So we did, and now we're finally doing stuff during the season, and we're kind of figuring things out, trying to establish a rhythm, trying to figure out how to make thumbnails that aren't terrible. So yeah, we're still learning. We're a young channel. We're trying to learn. All that to say, we're very open to any advice, any help we can get. So we do appreciate anything like that. If you're not streaming the game, streaming at the same time as one might cut into your potential viewership. No, I agree. I didn't intend to stream during the game tonight. That was just bad planning on my part, to be honest. It was bad planning. I didn't have everything ready for the stream as quickly as I wanted to. I spent a lot of time on the thumbnail when I shouldn't have, because there were some funny things I wanted to do that might not objectively be funny, but to me they were really funny. So like I said, we're still trying to get into a good rhythm. We're figuring things out, and the more we do it, I think the better we'll get at it. I say we. It's mostly me making mistakes right now. But yeah, no, we'll definitely figure it out. That's also why I'm leaning towards doing Tuesdays for the college football streams, because there aren't any games on. So that'll probably be the case. That or Mondays before Monday Night Football. I don't know. It's a wait and see approach for sure. Oh, I appreciate that. The first one that doesn't annoy you, man. Dude, what are the other Panthers fan streamers doing to annoy you? Good grief. Oh, man. I haven't actually found a lot of Panthers fan streamers. There was one I found a while back. I don't remember his name, but he was just really boring to me. So I just didn't hook me in. Sometimes that's all it is. I think I probably subscribed, though, just because he's a Panthers fan. And I'm like, hey, let's support the Panthers fan. Love that. Appreciate you being here at all, though. Really do. That's awesome, man. And it's pretty cool to find another Panthers fan, of course. Always good to find a fellow fan who can share in my pain. I hope we beat the Falcons this week. I really do. I really do. Alright, I've been told the game is tied now. Oh, and there you are saying it too, Nathaniel. The game is tied. Man. I'm amazed by that. I am amazed by that. Let me see. Are they at halftime yet? They're getting pretty close, aren't they? Yeah, Daniel, they're telling me that the game is tied. They're telling me the game is tied. It's wild stuff. I'm kind of winding down the stream here. You fell dead asleep. I mean, that's for the best, honestly. That's probably good. Hopefully that means you're feeling better sooner rather than later. Gotta have you ready for the Sunday stream, of course. Feel bad for Bills Mafia if they lose. Dude, I would feel bad for Bills Mafia too. They're one of my favorite fan bases, for sure. Like, they're passionate, but they're not toxic like, the Philadelphia fan base. So, I don't know. I appreciate the Bills Mafia. I think they're pretty wholesome. They deserve a Super Bowl. I hope Buffalo wins a ring one of these years. It would be really sad if they don't. If they lose to Miami, again, does that say more about Buffalo or the Dolphins? I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with that. Oh, man. I can't believe that game is tied. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, 14-all going into halftime. It is halftime now. Live stream the second half, man. I'm kind of tempted to. Now. I think I may. I may do that. That's wild. That's wild. That is quite the dream. Weird dream you flew to visit me. Imagine that. Before the Panthers were a team, you were a Philly fan. Fascinating. Still number 2 just from nostalgia. Okay, I can respect that. I don't hate the team itself. I just am not a fan of the fan base. I don't really love their coach either. I don't know. I can respect that reasoning for sure. My little brother's an Eagles fan. I don't know why, but he is. It's better than the Falcons, who he wanted to be his main team. And yeah, fortunately, that's not really holding us strong these days. All right. No, I think I'm convinced. I think I'll probably wrap this one up, and I'll boot up another one fairly soon to react to the second half of the Bills-Dolphins game, because apparently that's a good game. I didn't see that one coming, so yeah. All right, let's do it. I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you guys for hanging out. This is the first college football stream on the channel, so hopefully that was somewhat enjoyable as I rambled all my thoughts about the rankings and the matchups, and hopefully they age well. So, thank you all. Appreciate it. I'll wrap this one up, and I'll boot up another stream real soon for the second half of the Dolphins-Bills game. See you all then. Yeah, agreed. Their fans have absolutely earned that reputation. Yeah. Alright, see you guys soon.